You ever walk into a room and just know you don't belong there? Yeah, that kind of room. Glass walls, clean lines, everything sharp, everything controlled, like even the air had rules. That's his world, Alexander Hayes. And the thing about men like him, they don't look at you, they assess you. Elena noticed that the second she stepped in, he wasn't sitting. Of course not. Men like him don't sit when they can loom. He stood behind his desk, sleeves rolled, not messy, not relaxed, just enough to suggest control without trying too hard. One hand on the desk, the other holding a file he wasn't reading, because he was watching her instead. She closed the door behind her, slow, quiet, intentional. You'd think it wouldn't matter. It did. His eyes flicked, just slightly. "Ms. Voss." Low voice, calm, the kind that doesn't need volume to land. She walked toward him, measured steps, no rush, no hesitation, stopped at a distance that should have been safe. Should have been. "Yes, Mr. Hayes. Now here's the thing. Most people look away first. She didn't. And that was mistake number one. Something in his expression shifted. Not much, just enough to tell you he noticed. "Most people," he said, placing the file down with irritating precision, "understand how things work here before they speak. There it is. Control, wrapped in politeness." Elena tilted her head, just a little. "Most people," she said, just as calm, "aren't hired for their thinking. Silence, not the comfortable kind, the kind that presses against your skin." He moved. One step, that's all it took. Now the distance between them wasn't neutral anymore. It was something else. Close enough to feel, not close enough to touch. Yet. "Elena," he said. First name, just like that. Deliberate. "Do you intend to be difficult?" She held his gaze, didn't blink, didn't soften. "I intend," she said, "to do my job." Another step. Closer now. Because now she can feel it. Not him, not exactly. But his presence, the heat of it, the weight of it, the way it presses without actually touching. "And if your way," he said quietly, "conflicts with mine, there it is again. Pressure, not loud, not obvious, but tight." Elena didn't step back, and that was mistake number two. "Then I assume," she said softly, "you'll correct me." Something flickered in his eyes, not anger, something sharper, interest, and then he reached past her. No warning, no hesitation. Close, too close. His arm brushed along her side as he picked up something from the desk behind her. It wasn't rough, wasn't lingering, but it wasn't avoided either. That's the part that matters, because men like him, they avoid things like that unless they don't want to. Elena didn't move, didn't react, but her body noticed. Of course it did. The warmth, the nearness, the fact that he could have taken half a step back and didn't. He stepped away just as smoothly, like nothing happened, like he hadn't just tested something. "Your role requires precision," he said. Calm again, controlled again, like he hadn't just crossed a line so faint most people wouldn't even see it. "Understood," she said. Short, even. But something had shifted. You could feel it, in the space, in the silence, in the way neither of them quite reset. He watched her, still, waiting, for a reaction, a slip, anything. She gave him nothing. That might have been mistake number three. "Good," he said finally, dismissal, clean, efficient, just like everything else in his world. Elena turned, walked to the door, hand on the handle, and then she felt it, that look, still on her, heavy, focused, unfinished. So she glanced back, just for a second. He hadn't moved, still standing there, still watching her like he hadn't figured her out yet, or worse, like he wanted to. Their eyes locked again, And this time, neither of them looked away right away. Yeah, that's when it started. Not the touch. Not yet. Something worse. The awareness of it. Elena opened the door and walked out, calm, controlled, like nothing happened. But if you were paying attention, you'd know something already had. So she walked out. Cool face, straight spine, like nothing followed her out of that room. But you know how it is. Sometimes the thing that follows you isn't footsteps, it's attention. She barely made it 10 steps before his voice cut through the hallway. "Mrs. Voss." Yeah, of course he wasn't done. She stopped, didn't turn immediately. Let the pause sit there, then slowly looked back. He was already walking toward her, not rushed, not casual either, measured, like every step had a reason. "There's been a change," he said. Of course there had. There always is with men like him. "What kind of change?" she asked. He stopped a little too close, not inappropriate, not yet, but close enough that she had to tilt her chin just slightly to hold his gaze. "The acquisition," he said. "It's been accelerated." She didn't react, didn't ask why, so he continued. "You'll be traveling with me." There it is, the trap. No build-up, no discussion, just fact. Elena's expression didn't shift, but something inside her did, tightened. Understood. He watched her for a second longer than necessary, like he was waiting for resistance. She didn't give him any. That seemed to interest him more. The car came too fast. That's how it felt anyway. One moment she was in the office, next moment confined space, leather seats, closed windows, silence that had nowhere to go. He sat beside her, not across, not diagonal, beside. Of course. Elena kept her eyes forward, hands folded loosely in her lap, controlled. She was trying to stay untouched. He was trying something else. The car moved, so did the air, subtle at first, then heavier. Like the space between them was aware of itself. "Review the file," he said, handing something over, simple, professional. Except their fingers brushed, again. But this time, it didn't feel accidental, not entirely, not after earlier. Elena took the file, opened it, focused, or tried to, because now she could feel it, him, not touching, just there, too close. And then it happened, fast, small, easy to miss if you weren't paying attention. The car hit a slight turn, nothing dramatic, but enough. Her hand shifted, just slightly, and landed lower than it should have. For a second. That's all it was. A second. But the kind that stretches. Her breath caught. So did his. Neither of them moved. That's the part that matters. Because they could have, they should have, but they didn't. Not immediately. Elena pulled her hand back like she just realized where it was. Too late. Way too late. "Sorry," she said quickly. Too quickly. He didn't respond. Not right away. Of course he didn't. When he finally did, his voice was calm. Too calm. "Focus on the file." Like nothing happened. Like that second didn't exist. But you could feel it. Sitting there between them now, alive, unspoken. She tried to read, tried to concentrate, but her fingers felt different, like they remembered something they shouldn't. And him? Still beside her, still composed, still controlled. Except his hand shifted, rested against his thigh. Closer now, not touching her. But close enough that she noticed. Close enough that it felt deliberate. Or maybe that was just her mind playing tricks. Yeah, keep telling yourself that. The rest of the ride passed in silence, but not the empty kind. The kind filled with almosts, almost movement, almost contact, almost acknowledgement, and every second of it made things worse, sharper, heavier. By the time the car stopped, Elena was already reaching for the door, a fraction too fast. He noticed that, of course he did. Ms. Voss. Again, that voice. She paused, didn't turn. Be careful, he said. Soft. Controlled. Of what? She asked. A beat. Then where you place your hands. There it is, finally. Not direct, not explicit, but clear enough. Elena turned slowly, met his eyes, and for the first time, there was something there that hadn't been before. Not just control, not just interest, something warmer, more dangerous. Noted, she said, but her voice, a little softer now, a little less certain. She stepped out of the car, didn't look back this time, couldn't, because now it wasn't just awareness anymore, now it was memory, and that's harder to ignore. So now, they don't talk about it, that moment in the car, buried, ignored, pretended out of existence. Yeah, that never works. The hotel suite was too quiet, too clean, too controlled, just like him. Elena stepped in first, took in the space, large, minimal. One long desk near the window, low lighting, heavy curtains, and him right behind her. Close enough that she could feel the shift in air when he moved. Set up, he said. Simple, direct, like always. She nodded, walked toward the desk, dropped her bag, opened files, focused, or tried to. Because the silence, it wasn't empty, it was waiting. Time passed, minutes, maybe more, papers moved, pages turned, pens clicked, all normal, except nothing felt normal anymore. Not after that car ride, not after that second. Come here, his voice, low, controlled, but different now. Elena didn't hesitate, that's the thing. She should have, but she didn't. She walked around the desk, stopped beside him, close, again. Always close now. He didn't look at her immediately, just tapped the file in front of him. This section, he said. She leaned in, and there it was again. That shift, that awareness, because now she knew exactly how close she was, close enough that her arm brushed against his, soft, slow, unavoidable, or maybe not. Maybe she could have avoided it. Maybe she didn't want to. Her fingers rested on the paper. His hand moved at the same time. And for a second, they overlapped. Not just brushing, resting, still, neither pulling away. This isn't accidental anymore, not really. Elena inhaled slowly, too slowly. His fingers flexed slightly under hers, just enough to be felt, just enough to be noticed. That's when she moved, pulled back, but not fast this time, measured. Like she was deciding how much distance to create. Continue, he said, like nothing happened. Again. But his voice, a little tighter, a little less controlled. She leaned in again, closer this time. No hesitation. Her arm dragged lightly across him as she reached for another page. Slow. Too slow. And this time he reacted. His hand came up, caught her wrist, firm, not rough, but not gentle either, just enough pressure to stop her, to hold her there. Elena stilled. Her pulse jumped, not because of the grip, but because of what it meant. He wasn't ignoring it anymore, he was acknowledging it. Without words, his thumb shifted slightly, barely, but enough to send something sharp up her arm. Then he let go. Just like that, like it burned him, like he remembered something he wasn't supposed to forget. Be precise, he said, voice back to normal. We're trying to be. Elena stepped back, but not far. Never far. That's the problem. There's always space to leave, and they keep choosing not to use it. A few minutes later, the file slipped. Her fault. Maybe. Maybe not. It fell between them. Both of them moved at the same time. Of course they did. Bent down, reached, and collided. Closer than before. Her shoulder hit his chest, soft, then firm. His hand came up instantly, steadying her, but not quite where it should have been. A little off, a little lower, a little too aware. Elena froze. Again. But this time, she didn't pull away immediately. Neither did he. You feel that? That pause? That's the difference. That's where things change. His hand stayed. Just for a second longer than necessary, then gone. Like it never happened. They stood, too fast, too straight, too controlled. Elena picked up the file, placed it back on the desk, didn't look at him, didn't trust herself to. You should rest, she said, voice steady, almost. He didn't respond right away. Of course he didn't. When he finally did, finish the report first. Work. Back to work. That's the rule. That's the shield. But now it doesn't work the same. Because the silence, it's not neutral anymore. It's charged. Every movement, every step, every second spent too close. And the worst part, they both know it. They both feel it. And neither of them is stopping. Not really. Not anymore. You know that point? That thin line where things stop being accidents and start becoming choices. Yeah. They're there now. The argument didn't start big. Those are the dangerous ones. It started small, technical, a detail in the deal, a number that didn't align. Your projection is off, he said. Calm, controlled, like always. Elena didn't even look up at first. It's not, she replied, short, flat. You can already feel it, that edge. He stood. That was the first mistake, or maybe the first move. Look again, he said. Closer now, of course. She exhaled slowly, pushed back her chair, stood up. Now they're facing each other. No desk, no barrier, just space. Too little of it. I did, she said, and then she stepped closer. Yeah, she did that. Not backing away, not softening, closer. Close enough that he had to look down slightly to hold her gaze. And he didn't step back. Of course he didn't. You're missing the risk factor, he said. Quiet now, lower. Like the room shrank around them. I'm not, she replied, her voice softer too, but sharper underneath. And then he moved, one step forward. That's all it took. Elena took a step back, instinct, until her back hit the wall. There it is, no space left. Now look at them. Him in front of her, close, too close, not touching, not yet. But you can feel it, that pull, that awareness, that thing sitting right between them. You should reconsider, he said. But it didn't sound like work anymore, not really. Elena tilted her chin, didn't break eye contact. You should trust me, she said. And that landed somewhere deeper than it should have. Silence, heavy now, pressing in. Neither of them moving, because if one of them does, you already know what happens. His hand lifted. Slow, deliberate, not rushed, not hesitant either, just certain. Elena's breath caught. There it is, finally. Not hidden, not controlled, felt. His hand moved toward her face, not touching, not yet, hovering, close enough that she could feel the heat of it. That's the worst part, not the touch, the almost. She didn't move, didn't lean in, didn't pull away, just stayed there, letting it happen. Or not happen, same thing now. You're making this difficult, he said, but his voice, not steady anymore, not entirely. Elena's lips parted slightly, not intentional, just reaction. You don't seem to mind, she said. Soft, too soft. His hand shifted, lower, just slightly, like he was reconsidering, like he knew exactly what he was doing, and choosing not to do it. That's worse, way worse. The space between them tightened. You could feel it snap if it wanted to, if one of them moved even an inch. That's all it would take, but neither of them did. That's the control. That's the game. His jaw tightened. You could see it, feel it, that effort, that restraint. And then he dropped his hand. Just like that. Gone. like it was never there. Elena exhaled, didn't even realize she'd been holding her breath. Her body felt off, like it had been bracing for something that never came, and now didn't know what to do with it. He stepped back, finally. Space again, air again, but it didn't feel the same, not anymore. "Fix the numbers," he said, voice back to normal, or trying to be. Elena nodded, turned away, walked back to the desk. But her steps, not as steady, not as controlled. Because now it's not a question anymore, not confusion, not accident, not coincidence. They both know exactly what that was. And worse, they both stopped it, on purpose, which means next time. Yeah, next time it won't stop there. You'd think after that wall moment, they'd pull back, create distance, act normal. Yeah. No, they didn't. That's the problem. The event was loud. Too many people, too many voices, too much pretending, perfect cover. That's what it felt like. Because now, they didn't have to look at each other to feel it. Elena stood near the bar, glass in hand, not drinking, just holding, grounding. Because across the room, he was there. Of course he was, talking, nodding, listening, looking like control wrapped in a suit, but every now and then. His eyes found her, quick, sharp, gone, like it didn't happen, like it didn't matter. Except it did. Ms. Voss. Yeah. He was behind her now, close, again, always close. She didn't turn immediately, let him stand there for a second, then, slowly, she turned. And there it was again. That shift, that awareness, stronger now, less hidden. "You should be networking," he said. Professional tone, clean, safe. Elena tilted her head slightly. "I am," she said. Soft. And then she stepped closer, closing that last bit of space herself this time. That's new. "Your tie's off," she added. Not really, but close enough to justify it, or pretend to. Her hand lifted, slow, deliberate, no hesitation now. Her fingers caught the fabric, adjusted it, smoothed it down, and then they didn't stop. They slid, just slightly, lower, palm flattening for half a second longer than necessary. There it is. That moment, that line. Alexander didn't move, didn't stop her, didn't react, not outwardly, but you could see it. That stillness, that tension, that control tightening instead of breaking. "Elena," he said quietly. Her name again. Not a warning. Not quite. She looked up at him, didn't step back, didn't remove her hand immediately, just let it rest there for a second longer, like she was testing something, or maybe herself. Then she pulled away, smooth, controlled, like it meant nothing. But it didn't feel like nothing, not anymore. Later, the hallway, narrow, quiet, empty, too empty. That's always when it happens. She turned a corner, and there he was. Coming from the opposite direction, both of them moving, both of them not slowing down fast enough, or maybe not wanting to. They collided, not hard, but enough. Her body brushing against his, closer than before, too close to ignore. His hand came up instantly, caught her at the waist, firm, automatic, but it didn't stop there. It shifted, just slightly. Not enough to name, not enough to call out, but enough. More than enough. Elena's breath caught, sharp, quick. Her hands pressed lightly against his chest, steadying herself, or maybe just staying there for a second. They didn't move. Again. That pause, that dangerous pause. "You should watch where you're going," he said. Low, too calm. "You were in my way," she replied, just as soft. Neither of them believed that. Not really. His hand tightened slightly, still at her waist, still not moving, still not letting go. And she didn't step back, didn't break it, didn't even try. That's the shift. That's the moment. They're not avoiding it anymore. They're letting it happen. Then, footsteps, distant, approaching, reality creeping back in. His hand dropped, just like that. Gone. Elena stepped back, too quickly this time, too aware. "Careful," he said. Same word as before, different meaning now. She looked at him, really looked this time, and there it was, clear, unmistakable, not control, not just that, something else, something warmer, sharper, more dangerous. "I am," she said. But her voice, not steady anymore, not entirely. She walked past him, close enough that her shoulder brushed his again. Not accidental, not this time. And he didn't move, didn't stop her, didn't follow. But you already know. This isn't slowing down, not now, not after this. Because once you stop pretending it's an accident, there's really only one direction left to go. You know that moment when tension stops building and snaps? Yeah. This is that moment. It was late, too late for work, too late for pretending. The city outside the window had gone quieter, lights still on, noise faded, inside, just them. Again, always them. Elena stood by the desk, files open, unread, because her focus gone completely. He was across the room, jacket off, sleeves rolled higher now, not for show, not for anyone, just because. "You missed a section," he said, voice steady, like nothing had changed, like everything was still under control. She didn't turn, didn't look at him. "I didn't," she replied, short, flat. But you could hear it, that edge, that tension sitting right under the words. Silence stretched. Longer this time. He moved first. Of course he did. Footsteps, slow, measured, coming closer. You can already feel it, that shift in air, that awareness, that pull. He stopped behind her, not touching, not yet, but close enough that she could feel the heat of him at her back. That alone, enough to make her breath uneven. "You're distracted," he said quietly, too quietly. Elena turned, fast, too fast, and suddenly they were close again. Too close, always too close now. "I'm not," she said, but her voice didn't match. His gaze dropped, just for a second, then back to her eyes. "You are." Not a question, a statement. She stepped forward, closing the space herself again. "You're the one who keeps..." She stopped. Didn't finish. Didn't need to. Because now there was no space left. None. His hand moved, caught her wrist, same as before, but different, stronger, more certain. Elena stilled, but she didn't pull away. That's the difference, and that's everything. "Finish the sentence," he said, low, controlled, but barely. She held his gaze, didn't look at his hand, didn't look at where he was holding her. "You keep..." She started again, then stopped, because something shifted. His other hand moved, slow, deliberate. And this time, it didn't hesitate. It settled at her waist, firm, grounding, not accidental, not even close. There it is, the line, gone. Elena inhaled sharply, her hands pressed lightly against his chest, not pushing, not pulling, just there, feeling him. "You shouldn't," she said, but the words didn't land, didn't carry weight. "Neither should you," he replied. And that hit. His grip tightened slightly, not enough to hurt, just enough to hold, to keep her there, to make sure she didn't step back, even though she wasn't trying to. Their faces were closer now, breath mixing, space gone, completely. And this time, no one stepped away. You see it, don't you? This isn't accidental anymore. This isn't testing. This is choice. Her fingers curled slightly against his chest, gripping just a little, like she needed something to hold on to. His head tilted, just slightly, like he was about to... No, not yet. Still that control, still that edge. "Elena," he said. Her name again, but different now, lower, rougher. She exhaled slowly, didn't move, didn't break it. "You're going to regret this," she whispered, but even she didn't sound convinced. "Maybe," he said, and then nothing. No movement, no action, just that moment, held, stretched, right at the edge, because here's the truth. They could cross it, right now, easily, but they don't. Not fully, not yet. And somehow, that makes it worse. His hand stayed at her waist. Her hands stayed on him. Neither of them letting go. Neither of them pretending anymore. The room felt smaller, the air heavier, everything sharper. And in that moment, they both knew. There's no going back now. Not after this. Not after choosing to stay. Eventually, slowly, he let go. First. That's important. Because it means something. Even now, even here. Elena stepped back, but not far. Never far. Neither of them spoke. Didn't need to. Because what just happened didn't need words. And what comes next, yeah, that's not going to stop it almost. You'd think after a moment like that, things would explode, or collapse, or at least change immediately. Yeah. No. Sometimes the most dangerous thing is silence. Morning came too clean, too bright, like nothing happened, like the night before didn't exist. Elena woke first. Of course she did. She always does. Control, routine, distance. That's her thing. But today, something was off. Because the first thing she noticed wasn't the room, wasn't the light. It was him. He was already awake, sitting at the edge of the bed across the room, back straight, shoulders tense, hands resting on his knees. Still. Too still. He didn't look at her immediately. That's how you know that something shifted. Because before, he always looked. Elena. Her name again, but softer and quieter, like it didn't belong in the same tone as before. She sat up slowly, didn't rush, didn't speak, just watched him. "You should get ready," he said. Professional, clean, safe. Like he was putting the walls back up, brick by brick. She let out a slow breath. "So that's it?" she asked. That got his attention. He turned, finally, looked at her. Really looked. "What exactly do you think it is?" he asked, voice steady again, almost. Elena stood, walked toward him, not fast, not slow, just certain. "You tell me," she said, soft, but not weak, never weak. She stopped in front of him, close. Not as close as last night, but close enough to feel it, still there, still between them. His gaze dropped, just for a second, then back up. "That shouldn't have happened," he said. There it is. Control talking, trying to fix something that doesn't want to be fixed. Elena tilted her head. "You didn't stop it. Neither did you." That part stayed unspoken, didn't need to be said. Silence again, but different now, not tense, not sharp, heavy. She took another step closer, closing the gap again. Always her now. "And you're not stopping it now," she added. His jaw tightened, just slightly. You could see the effort, the restraint. Still there, still fighting, but weaker. "Elena," he started, then stopped. Because what's he going to say? Don't? When he clearly doesn't want that? She reached out, slow, careful, not rushed. Her fingers caught the edge of his sleeve, adjusted it, like before, like the event, like nothing changed. But this time, her hand didn't stop at fabric. It lingered, just slightly, just long enough to matter. His breath shifted. There it is again, that crack. "You're making this worse," he said quietly. "Am I?" she replied. And she didn't move her hand, didn't pull back. Another second, then he stood, too fast, too close. Now they're there again. That space, gone, completely. His hand hovered near her waist. Didn't touch. Not yet. "You see it?" That hesitation, that last bit of control. Elena looked at it, then back at him. And for a second, neither of them moved. Then a knock at the door, sharp, real, interrupting everything. They both froze. Of course they did. Reality always shows up at the worst time. His hand dropped. Again. Elena stepped back. This time, she didn't rush, didn't panic. She just looked at him, really looked. And there it was. Clear now. Unavoidable. This wasn't over. Not even close. Later, she said softly. Not a question. Not a suggestion. A promise. Then she turned. Walked away. Opened the door. Let the world back in. And him? He stayed there. Still. Watching her go. Knowing exactly what that word meant. Later. Yeah. That's where it gets dangerous.